Hi, I'm here with Andrea Castanetti from Castanetti Realty, but today we're going to talk about your baby,
Yes.
the Kindness Coalition, and what's coming up this summer and fall with the Kindness Coalition. You've created this wonderful group of people who are working hard to make the world a kinder place around
That's
here.
it. So Kindness Coalition just celebrated our first birthday. In May, we basically opened along with my real estate brokerage. So we try to plan our, everything was kind of a whirlwind. We grew very quickly.
That's how you live your life.
Pretty much, yes. We have an idea and then we run with it. But the members of the community have been so amazing and we're so appreciative. And that's what we really want to say first and foremost is thank you. Without these members and everyone contributing and everyone stepping up in such a huge way, we couldn't do what we do. So we've had many successful backpack drives, and those are our signature events.
One for DCF.
We did, yep, where we filled 1,000 backpacks for kids at DCF. So, we first started with a goal, last year of filling 20 backpacks for the homeless, and we far surpassed that. And then we hit that goal of 1,000 this year, same for DCF. So, obviously we'd love to hit bigger and bigger goals every year, but I think whatever we can do to bring the community together to help those in need is,
That's
beneficial.
amazing.
It's very easy to write a check, send it in, you have no idea where your money's going. So my goal was to bring complete strangers together. Everyone's meeting each other, meeting members of the community. You're bringing your kids because, again, as we know, a lot of events aren't kid-friendly.
Right.
And, especially for my kids, we want to teach kids at a young age to start giving back and know what it's like to help those in need and realize how lucky they are to have what they have.
Sure.
And, it's always just a fun day of everyone coming together and, the amount of people that come up to me after and are thanking me, it's amazing. Meanwhile, I should be thanking them.
But you've brought this all together. You're the linchpin that everything sort of works around.
Yeah, I just say I'm the big mouth behind it, so it's fine. I'm Italian, that's what we do. But, I'm really thankful and really lucky for the people that we have. So this summer, this was a spin-off of last year. We had basically an impromptu birthday party for a little girl in town. But we decided to open it up so it wasn't just focused on her. It was basically to bring everyone together yet again to show that we love and accept everyone of ability, sex, gender, everything imaginable. And we just wanted the members of the community to come out and, again, get to know one another and support each other. Yeah. So we're going to do that again this summer. We don't have a date yet. We'll be working on that. Obviously, we just finished the backpack drive. So we try to regroup for a couple weeks.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, yes. We try to take a breather for a few weeks, and then we'll get to work on the summer event, and then obviously October will be for the homeless again.
And now what do you do in October?
So that will be, again, and we're hoping St. George's in Worcester has been amazing. So they basically allow us to use their facility, which is a perfect spot to fill backpacks. And, we'll probably set a goal of about 2,000. I know my board right now is passing out that I've said that, but we'll try to, definitely set a goal over 1,000 to fill for the homeless.
And that's it's backpack. What are in those backpacks?
So basically, survival gear. So we have, the Mylar blankets. We have, fresh socks and, clean socks and underwear, toiletries, blankets, pretty much anything that people need to, try to make it through the cold weather. Warm clothes, hats, gloves, scarves, everything like that. So. And
they're distributed to people who need this through what?
So yeah, so I'm not sure if you know Richard Gonzalez from Net of Compassion in Worcester. So he's amazing. So I don't know if you saw the event I did a few weeks ago. They feed the homeless every Saturday on Main Street in Worcester. He runs an amazing organization for the homeless. So we give him probably at least half of our backpacks. And then as we're gaining momentum and people are getting to know us, people are starting to reach out and say, hey, I work with this nonprofit. So we try to help out as many other nonprofits as we can.
Sure.
And that's what it's about.
And that's what I wanted to bring us. You're doing this and the people who help you do this. And then it's distributed through nonprofit organizations, congregations.
Exactly. Because, the Kindness Coalition, we're an all-inclusive organization that, basically will help anyone and everyone in need in the area. So we obviously keep it local. It's not just a Shrewsbury, but it's Central Mass and beyond. But again, there's so many nonprofits. We're all on the same mission.
Right.
So if we band together, think of all the other people that we can help by working together. I was at an event on Saturday with the Bruins alumni. They did a great event. And, all these all the DCF workers volunteered their time, came out, just love what they do, and they don't have to work on a Saturday, and they work tirelessly. And they don't have all the resources that they need. That's why they're one of the recipients of our backpacks. One of my clients, my real estate clients, she said, Andrea, we don't have, the basics for these kids when they're coming in because there's so many of them. So that's when I started to think oh my goodness, there's a huge, and I had no idea. I don't, obviously have a lot of dealings with them one-on-one. And she said, yeah, you'd be surprised, when we take a child from a home, they usually have a few minutes to throw some things in a garbage bag and then go. and then they're thrown into a, not thrown in, but they're put into a new home with strangers. So that's why we wanted the backpacks to be more personal and have them have some things of their own, not just thrown, in a trash bag. So.
Yeah. DCF workers, they do, and people don't see that. They volunteer, they're taking young people out of often very tragic situations.
Right.
So I don't think that, and I know from when I was at DSS, what it was called DSS, social workers would come and go because they'd get burned out.
How can you not?
How can you not?
Right. We can take a load off, and give them a little relief so that they're not worried about how this little kid is going to get, a new pair of shoes or, a car seat. That's what we do. And again, we have so many people. We put a call to action on our Facebook page, and people step up in such a huge way. So
yeah, you do. You get garner
we're
great
lucky.
Response.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Don't ever hesitate to ask. And there's never any, what's in it for me. I basically just say whatever you need, instead of stressing out about it and trying to figure out how you're going to pay for something or get something, just ask. And I'm telling you, I'm so blessed to have so many incredible people. If I literally asked for something today, we would have it in a half an hour. So, and people like to see where their things are going. So
yes, I think that's a big part,
Yeah.
don't you? It's like, yep,
Absolutely.
I'm supporting this because this
Right.
is what I'm.
And you're physically filling these backpacks for these kids and making cards and doing all these things that, it's nice to see where your donation goes. That's for me personally.
No,
I
agree.
can write a check
agree.
all day long, but you put it in the mail and then you have no idea where it is. So, now you come, you put a little labor of love in there and, meet some new neighbors. And it's just it's a fun day of forgetting about all the stuff that's going on in the world and really focusing on the positive. So.
All right, so the summer people can get involved with.
Yes, so the summer event, if they go to our Facebook page, Kindness Coalition of Massachusetts, or you can go to our website, kindnesscoalitionma.org. So we basically will post all of our events if we need volunteers, if we need donations, and if you can't do any of it, just come out and hang out.
Okay, so you've got the summer event and then the fall.
Yep, October will be there for the homeless.
Okay, and people should just go to the website.
Yes.
Or go to Facebook.
Exactly. Many
You
people
are on
it.
Facebook.
I am on Facebook a
you
bit,
are on
yes.
Facebook, so that's great. Well, thank you very much for both for what you do
Yeah.
and for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All righty, thank you. And we'll be right back. Hi, I'm here today with Heidi Cooper from Davidian Farm and Ryan McKay from Lilac Hedge Farm. That's helpful to have that jersey on. And thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about the Massachusetts Farm Bureau, which you're both active with, and farming in general and local food, buying local, and how important it is. So thank you for coming. And
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
your roles with the Farm Bureau. You're involved with the young.
The young farmers, yes. So I'm actually I'm older than Ryan, but younger in the organization in
Both
Farm
young,
Bureau.
from my perspective.
Thank
you're
you.
both.
Yeah, Farm Bureau is actually how I met Ryan.
Okay.
So I am the state chair for our Young Farmers and Ranchers
Okay.
Committee, and with that, I'm also active on our state board. So we have a state role that I am involved in, and then I'm also on our Worcester County board.
Okay.
So those are my main involvements within the organization.
Okay, and your involvement is?
I've been on the state board for probably 8 years now. So I was in the role of Heidi before as the Young Farmers and Ranchers chair, and I'm currently sitting as Worcester County's president.
Goals of the Massachusetts Farm Bureau to promote farming and letting people know what farmers, how the struggles, challenges, what else do you?
Yes, so primarily an advocacy organization that is the actual voice of farmers. So we have 6,000 farmer members within the state,
Oh, wow, okay.
which is wonderful to have that amount of support.
Sure.
And it's farmers from all sizes. So, I mean, some of them, I think is $1,000 the threshold to be considered a farm by
Yeah.
USDA
Oh, okay.
standard. So some are very small, and then
Sure.
some of us are the larger farms, but everyone with membership has the same voice. It's wonderful because everything comes from the county level. It's a true grassroots organization. So any of the priorities we have for the upcoming year, they come from the counties, from their annual meetings, and then they're brought to the state level where everyone gets together and discusses them during delegate session.
Okay.
And then we vote on them as an entire organization group to decide what's really high focus this year, and then kind of prioritizing down from there. So it's 100% member driven. So our roles within the organization are volunteer based. We do have staff that are part of the
Sure.
organization, but everything we do is volunteer based.
Okay. I would never have guessed that only 3% of the food that we eat is locally based. There are so many restaurants in the area, you'd think that more of them would be doing that kind of work.
So I think a portion of it certainly is our seasonality. In the middle of December, although there are still local foods available, it is much less. So if you're eating fruit, it's likely storage apples and pears. There's a limited availability of items, and a lot of it is, I mean, simply consumer mindset and what they're interested in. So if they, really enjoy pineapple, blueberries, that sort of thing in the middle of winter, we're fortunate and unfortunate that we have access to that. That's what the grocery store has done. But it's desensitized folks a little bit to knowing what really necessarily is local and what they can get all year round. So I know that is certainly a portion of it.
One of the challenges for farmers is land now, availability of land. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would say kind of almost tying into the last question is cost of production. I mean, it's a lot more expensive for us to be able to raise a product around here than it is, say, in the Midwest. Our access to land is what seems like near impossible sometimes. The average farmland valuation was somewhere around 15,000 in the state with the last census, and trying to get into a business and make it a for-profit business where you can sustain yourself. If you're a first-generation farmer, access to land, it can be near impossible because you basically need to develop a business before you're able to purchase land or be coming from another career where maybe you have savings in order to do so.
Okay, that makes sense. But I never thought about that. If somebody had that interest in getting into farming, how do you start?
Yeah.
Now,
So that's what Ryan did.
So I started the farm eight years ago now, roughly. So what started off me being in college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to own my own business, and I always grew up having livestock, so it turned into processing. Junior year, processing some lambs, a steer. So we started off doing 2 farmers markets a week, and we were on, before I purchased my property in 2015, we were on 5 different properties of leased land in 4 different towns.
Wow, okay. And you do more
We're all livestock.
And of course, Davidians.
Fruit and vegetable.
Fruit and vegetables.
Yes.
I know the Davidians well and have for a long time, and great place. And but constant challenges to be able to stay in business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it too is just as farmers constantly changing and staying ahead of the trends. So like CSAs, community supported agriculture, the shares that folks can buy is something that I think spiked up, about 10 years ago, and that was something that's been very popular but has been on a bit of a downswing. So then finding, so what is it that you do? So there's...
Why is it on a downswing?
It's almost a saturated market too.
Okay.
I mean, with all these other options, it was trendy, but like Heidi mentioned earlier, you're also competing with the companies that are delivering it to your doorstep. So a lot of what we run into is trying to figure out staying the next step ahead. I think one thing that Heidi and I both do in our businesses is we don't have a marketing department. That's what we do. So like over the last month, I've worked on building a new website where it's going to offer home delivery, setting up courier services, but there's not other people that are doing that. That's her and I at 11 o'clock at night saying, what program did you use to make that new ad or something like that?
You just don't think
Yeah.
about that. I used to garden. I used to have a large garden.
Yeah.
And you think about farmers, and every year it's like, boy, this is tough work. Being a farmer cannot be easy. I don't think too many people really consider marketing. And particularly, are you going to deliver to homes meat or fruits and vegetables? Or I thought CSAs were the up thing, and so that trend is sort of leveled off. Farmers markets, that's another area where you sell. How well is that going?
We're at a lot of markets that have been around for 30, 40 years, and we've got some very good, stable markets, but it's over the last 7 or 8 years, we've tried out many different markets, and it's also kind of realizing at the end of the day, it's a business and we have benchmarks that we need to hit.
Sure.
If we're going to a market and I've got someone working it for 6 hours, we need to be making our quota in order to do it. So right now, we've got a very good core group of markets. I don't foresee us adding markets. We want to bring stuff back home eventually, but it's going to take infrastructure to do that.
Gets me back to the Mass Farm Bureau.
Yes.
So this is a way through the Farm Bureau that you're able to promote and legislative advocacy as well as your own promotion and try to come up with ideas of how to do this better. I mean, it is such a challenge. And you mentioned seasonality. I mean, that's a real issue, and obviously in New England.
Yeah, it is.
most
I
farms.
think for myself at least, I'm personally very thankful for the experiences I've had in Farm Bureau because I didn't grow up on a farm. So I didn't, like I came into this, started working in a fruit and vegetable farm, eventually married my husband and then was in farming for the rest of my life. I presume this is what we'll do.
That's right.
Hopefully.
But, yeah, hopefully. Because my husband works for Ryan, so he's, so we're very entwined. But so for me, it's been wonderful because I didn't know anything. And I've been able to educate myself and spend time with folks and now can speak to legislators. I was fortunate enough that I'll be going to Washington, D.C. in June for a national training to teach me how to speak to legislators, how to speak to you sitting here.
Well, you're doing
and just
well
make sure,
with that.
just that, but so because we want our point heard
have
and
to,
brought
right?
across, and it's so hard to walk away from something and saying, I wish I had said that, because I wish
Sure.
that was the message that I told.
Sure.
So it's been a wonderful opportunity. And then of course, working with our consumers and being able to communicate things with them so they understand it. Because if you don't live farming every day, like I remember when I married my husband, working with cattle, not understanding, like, well, why wouldn't the baby be with the mom? Things that as a general consumer, of course, that's a concern until you really learn everything about the business and say, well, oh, of course, that's the way that it's done. Now I understand.
Yeah. There's so much to understand. It's so
Yeah.
hard. And yet, what do we do without farms? That
No
gets me.
food, no clothes, no
A few
no
minor
anything.
issues, but
Yeah.
but we're sort of driving societal. People forget about some of the real basic needs that we all have, and just presume, I think, somehow, well, food will come.
It'll always be there.
It'll always be there. Not
Well,
so
and
much.
it will, but likely from other sources. So
Right.
that's, I mean, and that's the trend. Like we are lucky because of grocery stores, you can have nearly any food anytime you want, and that's just what we've become accustomed to.
Right.
So, when there's been an issue in the avocado market and they're expensive, whatever the problem that arises may be, people still expect that items are there. So that's one of, like with farmers markets, the challenges, and I'm sure Ryan sees it, is that when folks know that there's so much different places, if it's a rainy day, they don't necessarily go to the market.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
so.
So many challenges. Well, thank you for coming on and at least introducing the idea of the farmers markets and the Farmers Bureau and Mass Farm Bureau and letting people know a little bit. And the message is, wherever possible, buy local. It's fresher. You don't have a lot of the problems that you have when you go to a grocery store and you have to look at all the labels and wonder where this was processed and how. And so buy local.
Yes.
Exactly.
All righty. Well, thank you again,
Thank you for having us.
and we'll be right back. Hi, we're here today with Marty Gilliard, wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
And Sean Brackett, quarterback from the Mass Pirates, the National Arena League, Football League.
Yes, sir.
Play their games at the DCU Center in Worcester. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Exciting brand of football.
Absolutely.
And how long has the team been around?
2 years? 2 years.
2 years.
Started
Okay,
again.
that's what I
Yeah.
thought. But you're both veterans of all sorts of football leagues. You've been in the NFL and the Canadian Football League. Okay, and you've been in this league for how long?
3 years in the NFL. I had 3 years in Canada. Couple years in Arena AFL. And now I'm in my third year. Excuse me. 30. Dang, I'm getting old.
Don't say that. You're a veteran. You're getting into the
grizzly
veterans.
vet.
Yeah,
A grizzly vet.
That's the word.
Well,
grizzly vet.
it's like wine when you say you know what
That's
I'm
right.
saying? I'm fine
Absolutely.
like wine,
But you're
baby.
not getting old. That's a
No,
bad
we
thing
get
for a
better with
football
time.
player.
We get better with time.
And your background is?
This is my fifth year pro football.
Okay.
Been in the AFL for 3 years. This is my second year with the Mass Pirates, and last year I was in the CFL for minicamp.
So the league plays from what, April to end of August? Is
August,
that?
yeah, yeah,
And
roughly.
how many games?
This year we got 14
14.
regular
Okay.
season, and the playoffs
Okay.
start.
And I know the games are on Charter, or they're taped
Nessun.
and they're on Nessun too.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
We got
but
Nessun, 11 Sports Network.
oh, okay.
And then on YouTube Live.
streams them live.
Yeah.
And also, of course,
Oh,
everything's
okay.
on YouTube nowadays.
What's your experience been? I mean, you obviously must love it to be staying with playing football. Still have hopes of getting back into the CFL or the NFL? Is that why you continue playing, or is it just because you like playing football?
At this point in my career, I'm 32 years old, so it's like most guys on my team are like in elementary school.
I
you
know,
know what I'm
don't
saying?
say that. No.
But for me, it's like, I haven't won a professional football championship yet. And I haven't really felt like I've filled my own personal goals that I've had, those own personal shoes that
Sure.
you wanted to fill. I haven't done that yet. So for me, it's long as I continue to be faster than the young boys, then I'm all good. I play as long as my legs allow it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And how about you, Sean?
I mean, number one, I remember watching Marty in college. So I was just probably elementary school, high school when he was doing his thing in college at Cincinnati. So I met him a couple years ago. Just amazing guy, amazing athlete. But I definitely still have goals of reaching the NFL. I haven't had a training camp invite. Haven't had really anything. I've always been undersized. Kind of have that chip on my shoulder. Come from a smaller school.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Columbia University.
Okay, and you went to Cincinnati.
The University of Cincinnati.
All right, there you go.
So I mean, I definitely have that goal of that's always been my dream. Obviously, being in the NFL. But like Marty said, I'm gonna ride out this dream for as long as I can. I love the game. I love playing. Love the camaraderie. Love being in the locker room with these guys. And there's really nothing better than to get paid for playing a kid's game.
The one thing I've noticed from just going through the whole business side of things when it comes to when they want you, they'll come get you.
Okay, gotcha.
You'll be like, hello? If you win here, they're going to come see you. Everybody wants to win. So that's the big thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm also an old Giants fan because that used to be the only team.
Right.
And the Giants could use both of you, right? Based on
agree.
their draft.
I agree.
They could use
Jim
both
Kelly
of you.
Giants?
So the Bills,
LT.
LT. But I go farther
The
back
original
than that.
Coach Belichick.
Y.A.
Yeah.
Tittle.
Okay, there we go.
Y.A. Tittle and
Okay.
Del Schofter and Frank Gifford. I'm like I said, I'm a little old. back in the late 50s and the early 60s.
Remember now, we ain't
the
old.
NFL
It's
film.
wine, baby.
That's
You
right.
Like wine.
I
You been
like to
like
think
wine,
that.
baby.
I've
Look.
accepted I'm a little old. But that's great. I mean, I think that dream and being able to play football, like you said, you're still able to play and at a high level because
Right.
the Pirates and your league plays at a high level, and to be able to do that and get paid is a great thing.
That's
to be
awesome.
able to
That's
enjoy.
awesome. And then, so I'm from Connecticut. So my hometown is about 40 minutes from the DCU Center. So, I mean, and being in Boston, we have billboards up in Boston. Me and Marty were in a billboard. I'm still on billboard. We have the whole team on billboards all over the city.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I'll have people just taking pictures, send me pictures, tagging me on Instagram, on Facebook. I know he's the same thing. And just like, man, we saw you on the billboard. We saw you on a commercial. We saw you on this.
We saw you outside the garden.
Yeah, so it's an awesome experience for sure.
Oh, that's great. So the idea too is build a fan base, not just
absolutely.
watch on YouTube.
Yep.
And
we want you there on
massive
Saturday.
Come and cheer. 'Cause
Yeah.
And most of your games are on Saturdays.
Saturday nights. Yes, sir.
Okay. Although what a great Saturday night entertainment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bring the whole
Always.
family.
Families. I mean, it's cost effective. I mean, you're not paying $200-300, like you are for. I think my NFL tickets when I was there it was like $100 a ticket. You know what I'm saying? And that was like for
No
need-
league.
You need
you know what I'm
binoculars
saying?
to yes.
And so you're talking about $15-20, $60-70. You got your whole family out, and you guys are watching a professional game.
Everyone on the team has been in the NFL at some point or another.
Yeah,
We have
for the most part.
ex-NFL draft picks, ex guys that played in the league,
Division
played
I
in
athletes.
games, big name guys that went to big D1 schools.
Yeah.
You guys are full-time professional
Full-time.
football players.
We
and
are
that's
wide
that's
open. Our league was created to put a push on the Arena Football League. You know what I mean? We are
competitive with.
the
yeah.
second. When you're talking about level of competitiveness in the league or skill levels in the league, arguably depending on who you ask, you know what I mean. Both leagues have those solid those solid, pretty much the same numbers. You know, you got guys that's playing that played at Georgia or Florida, that Florida State, you know, whatever former draft picks that are playing in Arena 1, you know, AFL, the Arena League, and then you have guys that's here in the NAL that's doing the exact same thing. You know, for me, the pretty much the difference would be just TV coverage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's why we're here.
And that's why you're here. But I think that's something that people maybe don't understand, is that it's that level as opposed to around here.
I mean,
with
it's the highest level of indoor football you can watch.
So tell me, and you both alluded to it before the cameras went on, those boards, when you go into the boards, that has to hurt no matter how padded they are. Right? I mean, it just has to.
Tell him, Marty.
I tend to go into the boards quite often.
Yes, receivers would have, quarterbacks would have the option to maybe just avoid
I
those.
throw that thing into it.
I've been hitting that wall for so long now. You kind of grow immune to falling and turning and torquing a certain way, so your body doesn't hit it as hard. But hey, man, I mean,
It's still boards.
30 miles an hour with somebody 215, 220 on your back, and you know he's running 20 miles an hour, and 40. All that momentum is hitting the wall at the same time. You know, it's not a fun feeling unless you caught the ball.
There you go.
I sit back there and I'm amazed sometimes because a fan will literally be right where you are, and Marty's right here running directly into you, and the ball is right here. And I think last year he ran up on the wall, jumped on top of the wall, and caught a touchdown. And that's like, we'll have guys go over the wall all the time, into the stands. I mean, last week you went in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like in your face, like action-packed football.
It is very arena football. That's what I do like about it very much.
Absolutely.
It's all action-packed and right on top of it. Yeah, right on top of it. Wow.
Man.
And that keeps you going.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's just fun, man. To have the opportunity when you're lined up, literally, I'm in an arm's length away. I literally high five fans as I'm lining up. You know, we break in the huddle and I come out and, and they love that. I mean, and for us, we love that too. You know, I mean, me being the #1 kick returner in the league, I'm back on the wall getting ready to catch a kick, and our fans are just literally behind me. They're tapping me, they're patting me on the back, slapping me 5, and it's a fun experience. This is the funnest football I've ever played.
Oh, you don't have that fan interaction in some of the other leagues.
No, everything else is so business oriented that I guess when you take a lot of the money out of the mix, you take the endorsements out of the mix, you take a lot of pressure from the TV out of the mix, you don't have to have so much to be pressured on you as big companies would.
Sure.
Big monopolies would. You have all different kind of pressures that come into play. You have Nike wants their product to be shown more.
Sure.
CBS wants more fans on the East Wing. Stuff like that.
And just the proximity.
Yeah.
Just the proximity. Everybody's right on top of you.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
That alone, it's like why Fenway is still such a great ballpark versus other ballparks. And I do think it's a tremendous fan experience, and it's a high level of football. And so there's a website. People can go see your schedule, Massachusetts Pirates.
Yeah,
MassPiratesFootball.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go enjoy a good night out at a reasonable price.
Absolutely.
And the schedule and everything else is right on the website, so people go there. Thank you both for coming. This has been great.
Appreciate
this. And we'll be right back. Hoping that we treat everybody today with respect, tolerance, and kindness. Thanks for joining us. Till next time.